The pain of being misunderstood leaves marks that few people ever see. It is not only the words that were spoken against you, it is not only the laughter, the doubt, the criticism, or the moments when others looked at your dreams and treated them as if they were foolish. The deepest wounds often come from carrying a vision in your heart, while living in an environment that cannot understand what you are becoming. There were seasons when people looked at your struggles and assumed they were proof that you would never succeed. They saw the delays and thought you had been forgotten. They saw the obstacles and assumed you were defeated. They watched your progress move slowly and concluded that nothing meaningful was happening in your life. Yet what they never understood was that some of the most important transformations happen far away from public attention. The strongest foundations are built underground, before anyone sees the structure rising above the surface. You know what it feels like to keep moving forward when encouragement is nowhere to be found. You know what it feels like to carry burdens that few people ever noticed. You know what it feels like to smile while fighting battles that nobody around you could see. There were nights when exhaustion sat heavily on your shoulders. There were moments when disappointment whispered that perhaps the critics were right. There were seasons when loneliness became familiar because the people around you could not understand why you refused to quit. Yet, through every difficult chapter, something remarkable continued happening within you. Your resilience was growing. Your wisdom was deepening. Your faith was being strengthened. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Not every tear was wasted. Not every setback was a sign that you were moving in the wrong direction. Some of the greatest lessons of your life were learned during moments that looked like failure from the outside. Some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. While others were busy judging your present circumstances, God was shaping your character. While others focused on what you lacked, He was developing qualities that would serve you for years to come. Patience was being formed. Compassion was being refined. Strength was being built. Endurance was being established. The truth is that many people only know how to evaluate visible results. They celebrate what can be seen and dismiss what cannot. They recognize success after it becomes obvious, but they rarely appreciate the difficult process that created it. That is why some people mocked your journey. They were looking at a chapter and believing they understood the entire story. They were judging a seed before it became a tree. They were measuring your future according to your current circumstances. Yet your future was never limited by their understanding. Your value was never determined by their opinions. Your purpose was never dependent upon their approval. There is something deeply important that you need to remember today. The people who failed to recognize your worth were not qualified to define it. The people who underestimated your potential did not possess the authority to limit it. The people who laughed at your persistence could not see what God was doing behind the scenes. Many individuals spend their lives seeking validation from those who never intended to understand them. They exhaust themselves trying to convince critics, explain their hearts, and prove their value to people who have already decided what they believe. But there comes a moment when healing begins. There comes a moment when a person realizes that their identity is not found in public recognition. Their identity is not found in applause. Their identity is not found in the approval of people who never walked through their struggles. Their identity is found in something much deeper. It is found in the truth that they possess value simply because they exist. It is found in the quiet understanding that God has not forgotten them. It is found in the confidence that their journey still matters, even when others cannot see its significance. You carried burdens that few people ever noticed. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. There were times when you chose integrity, when dishonesty would have been easier. There were moments when you extended grace while carrying your own pain. There were seasons when you kept believing even after disappointment arrived again and again. Those choices mattered. Those sacrifices mattered. Those unseen acts of courage mattered. The world often celebrates loud victories, but many of the most meaningful accomplishments happen quietly. Every time you chose faith over despair, something important happened. Every time you kept moving despite discouragement, something valuable was being created within you. Every time you refused to become bitter because of what you experienced, your character grew stronger. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. Many people would have given up. Many people would have surrendered to hopelessness. Many people would have allowed disappointment to define them. Yet you continued forward, sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, sometimes uncertain of what the future would hold. But you continued. That perseverance tells a story. It reveals a strength that circumstances could not destroy. It reveals a resilience that criticism could not erase. It reveals a quiet determination that continues to carry you through difficult seasons. The people who mocked your journey saw temporary struggles. They did not see the wisdom being developed through hardship. They did not see the compassion being born through suffering. They did not see the maturity being shaped through waiting. They did not see the preparation taking place beneath the surface. One day, the contrast between what they expected and what actually happened may become impossible to ignore, not because you are seeking revenge, not because your goal is to prove them wrong, but because growth has a way of revealing itself over time. Healing has a way of becoming visible. Persistence has a way of producing fruit. The person who survives difficult seasons with their faith, kindness, and hope intact becomes someone entirely different from who they were before. That transformation cannot always be measured by wealth, status, or external success. Sometimes it is measured by peace. Sometimes it is measured by confidence. Sometimes it is measured by the ability to remain strong during storms that once would have destroyed you. Your story has value, even if it did not unfold the way you expected. In fact, some of the chapters you once wished away may eventually become the very chapters that taught you the most important lessons of your life. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. The delays taught patience. The disappointments taught resilience. The loneliness taught self-awareness. The struggles taught strength. Even now, there may be moments when you wonder whether your efforts have mattered. There may be moments when the future feels unclear. There may be moments when you remember the voices that doubted you and feel the weight of old wounds. But do not forget this truth. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. He saw the battles that remained hidden. He saw every moment when you almost gave up and chose to continue. He saw the courage it took to wake up and keep trying. He saw the faith required to keep believing during seasons of uncertainty. Nothing was invisible to him. Nothing was forgotten. Nothing was meaningless. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. That strength remains within you now. The road ahead may still contain challenges, but you are not the same person who began this journey. You have survived too much to believe that temporary difficulties have the final word. You have learned too much to allow criticism to define your identity. You have grown too much to measure your worth according to the opinions of people who never understood your path. The future that awaits you may look very different from the future others predicted. The person you are becoming may be unrecognizable to those who only knew your struggles, and perhaps that is part of the beauty of growth. The people who mocked your journey were looking at who you were. They could not see who you were becoming. They saw the beginning and assumed they understood the ending. But your story is still being written, your healing is still unfolding, your purpose is still developing, and the same perseverance that carried you through every difficult season will continue carrying you forward. If this message touched your heart and reminded you that your journey still has meaning, subscribe to the channel and continue walking alongside a community that values faith, encouragement, healing, and personal growth. Sometimes the reminders we need most arrive during the seasons when we are learning just how strong we truly are. There comes a season in many lives when the silence becomes heavier than the criticism ever was. It is the season when the laughter has faded, the doubters have moved on, and yet the breakthrough still has not fully arrived. It is the season when a person begins asking themselves whether all the sacrifices, all the patience, all the unseen effort truly mattered. If you have ever lived through that kind of season, then you understand a struggle that many people never talk about. You understand what it means to continue showing up when there is no applause. You understand what it means to keep believing when visible evidence seems scarce. You understand what it means to carry a dream through years of uncertainty, while others assume you should have abandoned it long ago. The people who mocked your journey often saw only what was happening around you. They saw the circumstances. They saw the delays. They saw the obstacles. What they could not see was the battle taking place inside you. They could not see the moments when you chose courage over fear. They could not see the nights when you held yourself together through faith alone. They could not see the determination that continued burning quietly within your heart when every external sign suggested surrender. Those hidden victories matter more than you realize. In fact, many of the most important victories in life are completely invisible to everyone except the person who fought for them. The decision to keep going when everything feels difficult is a victory. The choice to remain kind after experiencing rejection is a victory. The willingness to continue hoping after disappointment is a victory. The commitment to maintain integrity while others compromise their values is a victory. These victories rarely receive public recognition, yet they shape the foundation of a life that cannot easily be shaken. Sometimes people assume that strength means never feeling discouraged. Real strength is something different. Real strength is continuing despite discouragement. Real strength is moving forward while carrying wounds. Real strength is choosing faith during uncertainty. Real strength is refusing to allow temporary pain to become a permanent identity. You have experienced moments that could have convinced you to stop believing in yourself. You have faced situations that could have persuaded you that your efforts were meaningless. Yet something within you refused to disappear. Something within you kept reaching toward the future. Something within you continued whispering that there was more ahead than what you could currently see. That quiet voice has carried you further than you know. The truth is that many people misunderstand what preparation looks like. They imagine preparation as a season filled with obvious progress and visible rewards. Yet some of the greatest preparation happens during seasons that appear unremarkable. A tree develops roots before it develops height. A foundation is laid before a structure rises. Character is formed before responsibility expands. Wisdom is cultivated before influence increases. God often works in ways that are slower and deeper than human expectations. While people focus on immediate outcomes, He focuses on long-term transformation. While people measure success according to appearances, He measures growth according to the condition of the heart. That is why difficult seasons often produce extraordinary strength. They teach lessons that comfort never could. They reveal capacities that convenience never would. They expose resilience that remained hidden until adversity demanded its presence. When you look back across your journey, you may notice something remarkable. The moments that seemed most painful often became the moments that changed you most profoundly. The disappointments taught discernment, the waiting taught patience, the losses taught gratitude, the loneliness taught self-discovery, the obstacles taught persistence. None of those lessons felt pleasant while you were learning them, yet each one contributed something valuable to the person you are becoming. The people who mocked your journey could not understand this process because they were evaluating your life through a different lens. They were looking for immediate results. They were searching for quick proof. They were measuring progress according to standards that rarely capture what matters most. Yet some of life's greatest transformations occur quietly. A person's confidence can grow long before their circumstances change. A person's faith can deepen long before visible blessings appear. A person's character can mature long before the world recognizes their value. The most meaningful growth often happens beneath the surface. There is a reason so many people become discouraged during seasons of waiting. Waiting has a way of exposing every insecurity. It forces a person to confront doubts, fears, and unanswered questions. It challenges assumptions. It stretches patience. It reveals where trust truly exists. Yet waiting can also become a powerful teacher. It can teach a person that their worth does not depend on constant achievement. It can teach them that their value remains intact, even when progress feels slow. It can teach them that purpose is not cancelled simply because timing differs from expectations. Many people abandon their path because they mistake delay for defeat. They assume that because something has not happened yet, it will never happen. They assume that because recognition has not arrived, their efforts are pointless. They assume that because others misunderstand them, they must somehow be unworthy. None of those assumptions are true. A delay is not a denial of value. A difficult season is not proof of failure. A period of obscurity is not evidence that God has forgotten you. Some journeys simply require more preparation than others. Some callings require deeper growth. Some futures require stronger foundations. That does not make the journey easy, but it does make the journey meaningful. There were moments when people looked at your life and concluded that nothing significant was happening. Meanwhile, your resilience was being strengthened, your perspective was expanding, your wisdom was increasing. Your ability to endure hardship without losing hope was developing. These are not small accomplishments. These are qualities that shape extraordinary lives. One of the most liberating realizations a person can have is understanding that they do not need to convince everyone of their worth. They do not need universal approval. They do not need every critic to change their opinion. They do not need every doubter to suddenly believe. True confidence grows when a person learns to stand securely in who they are, regardless of external validation. That confidence is not arrogance, it is peace. It is the quiet understanding that your identity is bigger than the judgments of others. It is the realization that your purpose remains valuable, even when misunderstood. It is the knowledge that your future does not depend upon the permission of those who underestimated you. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. You are worth far more than the criticisms that attempted to define you. You are worth far more than the disappointments that temporarily slowed your progress. The challenges you faced were chapters of your story, not the entirety of your story. The setbacks you experienced were events, not identities. The losses you endured were experiences, not definitions. Never confuse a difficult season with a permanent destiny. Never mistake temporary circumstances for eternal truths. Never allow someone else's limited perspective to become the boundary of your expectations. God sees possibilities where people see limitations. He sees potential where others see weakness. He sees purpose where others see confusion. He sees growth where others see delay. Throughout your journey, there have been countless moments when unseen strength carried you forward. There were mornings when getting out of bed required courage. There were days when simply continuing demanded faith. There were seasons when survival itself became an achievement. Those moments matter. They reveal a level of resilience that many people never develop. They demonstrate a depth of character that cannot be manufactured through comfort alone. Every challenge you endured added another layer of strength. Every obstacle you faced expanded your capacity. Every disappointment you survived proved that you were stronger than you previously believed. The future has a way of revealing truths that are hidden in the present. One day you may look back and recognize that many of the experiences you wished would disappear were actually preparing you for something greater. You may realize that the rejection redirected you. You may realize that the delay strengthened you. You may realize that the loneliness deepened your understanding of yourself and your faith. You may realize that the struggle refined qualities that became some of your greatest strengths. Until that day arrives, continue remembering this simple truth. God has not forgotten you. He has not overlooked your efforts. He has not ignored your tears. He has not wasted your pain. The kindness you showed mattered. The faith you maintained mattered. The patience you practiced mattered. The perseverance you demonstrated mattered. Even when nobody else noticed, those things mattered. Even when recognition was absent, those things mattered. Even when progress seemed invisible, those things mattered. The people who mocked your journey were only seeing a small portion of your story. They were looking at unfinished chapters. They were making conclusions before the process was complete. Your future is still unfolding. Your growth is still continuing. Your purpose is still being revealed. And the strength that brought you this far will continue carrying you forward through whatever comes next. If these words encouraged your heart and reminded you that your struggles have not been meaningless, subscribe to the channel and remain connected to messages that strengthen faith, nurture healing, inspire perseverance, and remind you that your journey still holds purpose, even during seasons when the destination is not yet fully visible. One day you will realize that the greatest victory was never becoming someone that impressed the people who doubted you. The greatest victory was becoming someone who survived everything that tried to break you and still chose to remain kind, faithful, hopeful, and strong. That realization changes everything. It shifts your focus away from proving yourself and toward understanding yourself. It frees you from the exhausting burden of seeking approval from people who never truly understood your journey. It allows you to recognize that your value has existed all along, even during the seasons when nobody else seemed able to see it. Many people spend years carrying invisible wounds created by rejection. They remember the comments that discouraged them. They remember the laughter that made them feel small. They remember the moments when others dismissed their dreams, questioned their abilities, or underestimated their potential. Those memories can linger for a long time. They can quietly influence the way a person sees themselves. They can create doubts that resurface during difficult moments. Yet there comes a point when healing begins to replace those old narratives. There comes a point when a person recognizes that the opinions of others were never the final authority over their future. There comes a point when they stop measuring themselves according to past criticism and start recognizing the strength they developed because of it. If you have walked a difficult road, then you know that growth rarely arrives in comfortable packages. Growth often arrives disguised as challenge. It arrives through obstacles, setbacks, waiting periods, and unexpected detours. While living through those moments, it is difficult to appreciate their purpose. Most people would gladly choose an easier path. Most people would gladly avoid pain if given the opportunity. Yet some lessons cannot be learned any other way. Some forms of wisdom only emerge through experience. Some kinds of strength only develop when circumstances demand them. Looking back, you may notice that many of the qualities you value most within yourself were born from seasons you never would have chosen. Your compassion may have grown because you experienced hardship. Your patience may have developed because you endured waiting. Your resilience may have emerged because you faced disappointment. Your faith may have deepened because you encountered uncertainty. The very experiences that seemed most painful at the time often became the experiences that shaped you most profoundly. This is why your journey matters. Not because it was easy, not because it unfolded perfectly, not because every dream happened exactly according to plan. Your journey matters because it transformed you. It revealed strengths you did not know you possessed. It taught lessons that comfort never could. It prepared you for responsibilities you could not yet see. The people who mocked your journey rarely understood this reality. They were focused on appearances. They were focused on timelines. They were focused on visible achievements. Yet life is far more complex than that. A person can appear successful while remaining deeply fragile. A person can appear behind while quietly becoming incredibly strong. A person can seem overlooked while being prepared for meaningful opportunities. Surface appearances rarely tell the whole story. This is one reason why comparison becomes so dangerous. When you compare your journey to someone else's, you are usually comparing visible outcomes while ignoring invisible preparation. You are comparing chapters rather than entire stories. You are comparing circumstances rather than character. The truth is that every life unfolds differently. Every person faces unique challenges. Every individual carries different responsibilities, lessons, and opportunities. Your journey was never supposed to look exactly like anyone else's. Your path has its own timing. Your story has its own purpose. Your growth has its own pace. There is tremendous freedom in accepting that reality. When you stop measuring your life according to the expectations of others, you begin appreciating the progress you have actually made. You begin recognizing victories that once went unnoticed. You begin seeing evidence of growth that was hidden in plain sight. Perhaps you have become more patient than you once were. Perhaps you have become wiser. Perhaps you have become more compassionate. Perhaps you have learned how to remain calm during situations that once overwhelmed you. Perhaps you have developed a deeper relationship with faith. These are meaningful victories. These are signs of transformation. These are indicators that your struggles produced something valuable. One of the most beautiful truths about perseverance is that it changes a person from the inside out. At first, perseverance feels like survival. It feels like putting one foot in front of the other because there is no alternative. It feels like enduring. It feels like holding on. Yet over time, perseverance becomes something more. It becomes confidence. It becomes wisdom. It becomes a quiet certainty that you can face challenges because you have already survived so many before. Every difficult season you endured left evidence that you are stronger than you once believed. Every obstacle you overcame expanded your understanding of what is possible. Every setback you survived demonstrated that your story was not over. The fact that you are here today is proof of resilience. The fact that you continue hoping is proof of courage. The fact that you continue believing is proof of strength. Never underestimate the significance of that. In a world where many people surrender to bitterness, choosing hope is powerful. In a world where many people allow disappointment to harden them, choosing kindness is powerful. In a world where many people stop believing after repeated setbacks, choosing faith is powerful. These choices shape the course of a life. They create a foundation that circumstances cannot easily destroy. As you move forward, remember that your future is not limited by what others expected from you. It is not confined by old labels. It is not restricted by past mistakes. It is not controlled by the voices that once doubted you. Your future is shaped by the decisions you continue making today. It is shaped by your willingness to keep growing. It is shaped by your commitment to keep learning. It is shaped by your determination to keep moving forward despite uncertainty. Most importantly, it is shaped by the understanding that your value has never depended on public recognition. You mattered before anyone noticed. You mattered during the difficult seasons. You mattered during the waiting. You mattered during the loneliness. You mattered during the setbacks. You matter now. There may still be days when old wounds try to reopen. There may still be moments when memories of rejection return. There may still be occasions when discouragement attempts to convince you that progress is too slow. When those moments arrive, remind yourself of what you have already survived. Remind yourself of the strength that carried you through previous storms. Remind yourself of the lessons that hardship taught you. Remind yourself that difficult chapters do not erase the value of the entire story. God saw every step of your journey. He saw the sacrifices. He saw the patience. He saw the tears. He saw the effort. He saw the moments when nobody else understood what you were carrying. Through every chapter, He remained aware of your struggle. Through every setback, He remained aware of your pain. Through every delay, He remained aware of your hope. That awareness matters because it reminds you that your story has never been invisible. Even during the loneliest moments, you were not forgotten. Even during the hardest seasons, your life retained meaning. Even during periods when nothing seemed to change, important things were happening beneath the surface. Healing was occurring. Strength was developing. Wisdom was growing. Character was being refined. The people who mocked your journey may never fully understand who you have become. They may never appreciate the battles you fought. They may never recognize the courage required to continue. That is all right. Their understanding is not required for your growth. Their approval is not necessary for your purpose. Their recognition is not needed for your value. What matters is that you continue becoming the person you were meant to be. What matters is that you continue walking forward with faith. What matters is that you continue believing that your story still contains meaningful chapters ahead. The future may not look exactly as you imagined years ago, yet that does not mean it cannot be beautiful. It may contain blessings you never anticipated. It may reveal opportunities you never expected. It may introduce people who appreciate qualities that others overlooked. It may provide healing in places that once felt permanently wounded. Above all, it may show you that the struggles which seemed so overwhelming were never the end of your story. They were part of the preparation. They were part of the growth. They were part of the journey that helped shape the person you are today. And the person you are becoming possesses more strength, more wisdom, more resilience, and more value than you may fully realize. If this message encouraged you and helped you remember that your journey has purpose beyond what others can see, subscribe to the channel so you can continue receiving messages that strengthen faith, encourage healing, nurture personal growth, and remind you that you belong among people who understand the power of perseverance and hope.